Welcome to Friday Focus, April 7th, 2017. And I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about Business 101. We've had a few Business 101 discussions, and this is about business cycles. And businesses go through cycles, and depending on where you're at in your cycle, you might need to decide as a business owner, or as a business, as a group, how we have to change things. It'd be nice to think we can do things over and over again the exact same way. You can do that, but you cannot do that in a growth business. So business can stay the same and do the same things over and over again, and unless something substantially changes, they can kind of stick with that model, like a restaurant or something like that. They might need to update it once in a while. But if not planning to grow, they don't really make a bunch of changes, maybe just little tweaks to the menu. So let's talk about how businesses grow, where they run into troubles, and where they identify that they need some changes. So when a business starts out, it's a little bit like rough road. People call it the early struggle. The early struggle is the business phase, where the business just first starts out. Somebody has an idea to create a new business. In our case, it was, we say 2004 we start, but we really started like in November of 03, but it was barely a business. Really in 04 we started, but we started out, I was working in the hospital still. I worked here at Allure Tuesdays and Thursdays in 2004 at the beginning, and I worked at the hospital a lot of weekends with that to run this business. And the early struggles were 85% of businesses fail. If you look at the U.S. Census statistics, they say about 70% of businesses fail, but actually most businesses don't even register as a business. 85% of businesses fail in their first year or two, and they fail because they run out of money. Okay, so somebody has an idea for a business, and they buy a truck or get some equipment, and they give a go at it, it doesn't work out, and they fail, and then about 15% of them survive. In our case, we were able to survive because we didn't have capital problems. I was working at the hospital, so I didn't take an income. I didn't take an income for the first 2.5 years working here. So I worked, for free with the idea of I'm going to work at the hospital, make money, build this business. So we got kind of through early struggle pretty quickly. And then there's a period of fun. And fun happens when the business becomes where you find your niche customer, an unmet need is tapped into. In our case, it was doing the veins, the cosmetic stuff. We were doing something called mesotherapy, real popular back in 04, 05, and 06. The vein treatments, what we do now, the ablations, had just gotten FDA approved, and nobody was doing it in Michigan. And we kind of grabbed a hold of that and got that going really quickly and strong. And fun comes with high profits, good profit margins, a lot of strengths. We can invest in the future. So I took the profits and poured them back in the business. It comes with the owner and the key people, the early big dogs, knowing everything that's going on in the business. So we'd be able to control costs and control systems. We didn't need a lot of processes and systems. We can kind of control things because everybody sort of knew what was going on. We only had like 30 people, and we knew each other very well. We knew each other's habits, so we knew we could rely on. And then as time went on, we kind of grew more and more and had to hire more people. And we get to a predictable portion of business that happens with any business that scales. Okay, business that stayed like we're a doctor's office. So if we stayed as a regular doctor's office with one doctor, maybe one PA, and a few assistants, you don't go through this. You stay here in fun. And that's where a lot of people like to stay. This next phase of business is where people get when they grow, and if they don't like it and they can't handle it, they go back to fun, but that means they're not growing. And it's called whitewater, and it gets rough again. It's turbulent. Whitewater, we probably entered that about 1.5 years ago. Maybe 2 years ago, and I didn't recognize it at first. So the first part of whitewater, things weren't going so good, and profits started dropping down, and I didn't have much control over things, and didn't understand our vendors, and we were hiring more people and trying to understand things. And if you've been here, been here for like 2 years, there's been a major change in the business in the past year and a half. And that's when we were going through whitewater. We realized we had to make some changes to either get out of whitewater or go back down to fun and not grow. So that's our choice. And here's what happens is that we either go back into fun, which was fun, but we don't grow. We don't need so many people, or we get into a point of predictable success. And to get to predictable success, we got to pull ourselves out of whitewater by developing systems and processes that are just enough to be able to handle things. So that way you say if you're out in Clarkston or Southgate or Warren, Livonia, and I'm working here in South and in Shelby, you kind of know what is going on, where our patients are coming from, you know what we're marketing, you know what our costs are, you ensure that your own office has profit. And that requires us to make processes and systems that are enough to allow those communication avenues to occur, to allow those, like we started the WIG goals, the wildly important goals, and the classic example would be the veins. We started at all the offices, and all the offices kind of rose at the same rate. That's a system. That's a process to assure success. Now the danger And this is a real danger, and this is something I'm watching for every day. And I look at every time when I talk to senior leaders, I look at it when I look at people who are making the processes, because we have some people in our office who are really good at making processes. Something I watch every day is leading us into a part of business which is called the treadmill. And the treadmill is like where you're walking on a treadmill, not getting anywhere, the business actually starts declining. That is too many processes. That is so many processes and systems that innovation, creativity, and unlocking your inner genius is choked. Okay, so without processes, we're going to stay in whitewater or slip back into fun, have to lay people off, and I want to do that. Without processes, at the very least, we'd be staying at whitewater, not make profitability. It's not acceptable. So with processes and systems, we can get into predictive success, but we got to apply them just right. We got to apply them in such a way that they don't choke our staff, they don't choke our creativity, they don't choke our innovation. And processes would be a good example would be like the WIG process. We're doing a wildly important goal process with the idea that you'll create your own lead measures and your own lagging measures and work on having your weekly meetings and make sure it carries out. We're going to go to open book accounting. That'll be our process for making financial health and giving us wild profitability. And that's a system that I'm going to be teaching over the next few weeks so that you have a process by which you can control your costs, maximize revenue. We have a process for bonuses. We have a process for various things. A lot of things we don't have processes for. We have processes for new patient experience. We have a scheduling institute training. We have a process for new patient calls. And these are processes we're putting in place, but we want to apply them in such a way that they're not suffocating you. Okay, and if you see a process is suffocating innovation, we got to kill a process and build another one. Okay, and what will naturally happen is the process builders will tend to want to make too strong of processes, too many rules, and that's when you got to step in and say, is this easy or is this complicated? If it's complicated, it's going to put us in the treadmill, which is not a fun place to be. This is how most large companies are. They're stuck in treadmills. The ones that aren't growing eventually go out of business. They went through the treadmill, they made too many processes, too many systems, they tried to control for too many factors, they went in the treadmill and then eventually did what they call that death rattle. Okay, so that's how business goes out of business. Predictable success, theoretically, a company can stay there forever. First thing, we gotta get out of whitewater by making just enough processes, and I think we're getting out of there now. It'll be probably in the second quarter, we're totally out of whitewater. I think we kind of were in March. And then predictable success is somewhere we'll want to stay without creating too many processes or having too few. In the process examples, again, would like the wildly important growth process, new patient experience process, different billing processes, things that we can do that are consistent. And we'll continue to try to build those with you, with the teams. And we have to be really kind of aware of the fact that we got to be careful of letting processes and administration and bureaucracy choke us. There was little attempts at doing that earlier in the year, even last year, that we kind of busted loose from. So that's the Friday focus. We're getting into predictable success. So the next year will be in predictable success. And we want to look at what systems got us there, make sure we support those, but not overburden people. Thank you very much.